Okay, class, let us continue with our programming lectures. Now I want to explain to you about algorithms. Algorithm. In the last session, we talked about programming, program, and the programming language, interpreter, and etc. Now, what is algorithms? We know that a program is a sequence of instructions which tell the computer how to work. But now, for you to be able to write a program, you must be having a specific algorithms. When I say specific algorithms, I mean a sequence of steps. Sequence of steps which any program must follow. Which any program must follow. That when you write a program, which are sequences of instructions, there must be some sequences of the step which that program is going to follow. So that is what we call an algorithm. And this is very, very, very important that in most cases, most of the students, they used to write a program without having a specific algorithms. So they find that they end up of writing a program with many errors, and they spend a lot of time in correcting the error, which you find that if they could, from the beginning, write a specific algorithms, it could be even easier for them to convert that algorithms later into a code. Now, as I say that algorithms, these are going to be the sequences of steps, not sequences of instruction, which a program must follow. While a program is a sequence of instructions which tell the computer how to work. Now, let me explain about the algorithms. When you write algorithms, there are three important steps you must always follow. As we said last time, that a computer is a device, electronic device, which input data, store data, process the data, and they give out the output. So we expect that even algorithm, the sequences of the step, must follow the same scenario. That when you have an algorithm, first of all, you must ask yourself, what will be your input? After understanding your inputs, now you must also ask yourself, where am I going to store these input? After understanding where you are going to store the inputs now, the third question must be, what is going to be the process of converting this input to my output? And the last one will be, what are my output? If you understand these four basic steps, or these four basic things, now you find that any program could be easy to write it. Now take example. Take an example. I want to write a program, or I want to write a program which may take two numbers, add them, and getting the summation. Now, in order to write that program, first of all, I must write an algorithm for solving those problems, because programming is a problem solving. Now, to write those algorithms, I say that the first issue to ask myself is, what are my inputs? The problem is I want to add two numbers, and get the summation. Now, in this problem, if you ask yourself, what are your inputs? Inputs, as I said last time, that these are the things which you are going to take in the computer. Now, the problem asks you add a program to add two numbers, means you take two numbers inside the computer. Here now, my input will be two numbers. That will be my input, two numbers. Let be X and Y. That will be my input, because I want to take two numbers into the computer, and then I add them, I get the summation. So the input will be two numbers, X and Y. Now the second question I ask myself, what are my output? what are my output? Because any program must take data in, process them, and they give out the output. So wherever I have the input from the beginning, I must be able to anticipate what will be my output. Now the question here is, I have two numbers which is an input x and y. What is going to be my output? The output is going to be the summation of the two numbers. Summation. That the output is going to be the summation of the two numbers. I can let this be, let's say, z. So this means that I will take two numbers, x and y, inside the computer. I will process them, then I will get the summation of the two numbers, x and y, then the summation is going to be z. Now from that one now, I'm supposed to go to the process now. The process means what process is going to take place, or are going to take place to convert x and y to get z, which is the summation. Now it is very easy that, as I said last time, that when you take a number into the computer, we expect that those numbers must be declared somewhere, must be stored somewhere. And you say that they are going to be stored in a computer memory, which is RAM. Now the first step is, before you take a value into, or a data into the computer, first of all, you must reserve the space where that data are going to be stored. Now the first step is to reserve the space for x, the first number, and the y, the second number. Now after reserving the space for x and reserving the space for y, now the second step is going to be, now I have already reserved the space for x, I have already reserved the space for y. Now the second step will be now take the number x in and take the number y in. Now what I say that accept or enter x and you're supposed to enter y. After entering x and y now, what will be the third step? Means that two number x are going to be stored in the space you reserved for x and the space reserved for y. Now after entering two number x and y, the third step will be now to process. Means you take the number which is in space x, you plus with the number which is in space y, then the sum, the resultant, is going to be stored in space z. That's why you say here that you must be having a space for z as an output. So you find that z is becoming equal to x plus y. Now after having z is equal to x plus y, now the fourth step is going to be now to display this output, which is now an information, into the screen by saying now display z. So this is going to be an algorithm for solving a problem of adding two numbers. I said that your input is going to be two numbers x and y. Your output is going to be the summation of the two numbers, which is z. Now the process, you'll be having four processes. The first process is to reserve a space for x, and you're going to reserve a space for y. The second process is going to be now to take x, means to input x and to input y to the space where you reserve them. Then the third step is going to be taking the value which are in space x and you add with the value which are in space y. Then the resultant is going to be stored in space z. Then finally, you are going to display the value which is in a space z. Now take another example. I want to write a program. I want to write a program which may find the area of a rectangle. Write a program which finds the area of a rectangle. We know that the area of a rectangle is given by length times width. That will be the area from mathematical point of view. That if you want to find the area of the rectangle, now you are going to be having an a length and a width, and the area is given by length times width. Now, algorithms for solving this program now is, first of all, always ask yourself, what are my input? What is going to be my input? What things I'm going to put inside the computer in order for me to get the area? Now, my input is going to be the length of the rectangle, let it be L, and the width of the rectangle, let it be W. That will be the input, because you are going to input the length of the rectangle and the width of the rectangle. Now, after putting the length and the width, what are your expected output? Your expected output is going to be an area. So the expected output will be an area of a rectangle. That will be the expected output. And let it be, let's say, A. That is going to be the output. Now, after understanding what you are going to enter and what you expect to get, now the second is now to know the process of transforming the input into your expected output. Now, the first process, as I say, is wherever you are going to have an input L and W, the first issue is you must reserve the space where those inputs are going to be stored in the memory. Because you can't enter them without having the space in the memory where you're going to store. It's like when we enrolled you here at the University of Dodoma. Before we enrolled you at our University of Dodoma, first of all, we created the hostel for you. Because we know that when you come, you must be having a place to be accommodated. So the first issue was to build the accommodation place, or what we call the hostel, even before we accept you to the University of Dodoma. It could be very, very, very dangerous that we bring you here at the University of Dodoma and you find that there is no place where you can accommodate yourself. So that is what is happening even in computer. Before you take the number inside the computer, you must have a space where you are going to store those numbers. Now, the first process here is going to be reserve the space for W and L, means for width and for length. But number two is you are going to reserve the space for, you are going to reserve a space for the area, because the area itself is going to have the space. Of course, I forget even there, in the first problem, we are supposed to reserve a space for Z. Now here, it's supposed to reserve a space for A, where you are going to store the area. Because the area is going to be stored somewhere again. It's going to be stored in the space Z. Now, these spaces are reserved in computer memory, in the RAM. And that is why I used to tell you RAM for the first session, before we come in this session. Number three, after reserving the space for W and L, for width and the length, and we reserve the space where we are going to store the area, now what we're supposed to go on is to accept, or the next step is to accept the length and the width. Now, enter the length and enter the width. And when you enter them, means they go directly to be stored in a space named W and a space named L. After entering the width and the length now, process number 4 is going to be now to calculate the area. Means take whatever is in length, you times with whatever is in width. Now the answer must be stored in the space known as A. So you find that A must be equal to length times W. Now after getting this one now the last step must be equal now to display now, because you must output the area. Now must be displaying the area, means display A. So you find this is what we call now an algorithm. Now my point here is, before you write any program, try to conceptualize your problem. Try to understand your problem. How are you going to solve it? And when you conceptualize your problem, means you are writing an algorithms. Here, I'm just writing algorithms before even writing the program. Now I start knowing, okay, where or what step I will pass through to get to the answer. So that is what we call now algorithms. So any program you write, please make sure that you try to conceptualize or to write an algorithms for it. This is the same as when you write a program. If somebody asks you to write a program for finding the perimeter of a triangle, perimeter of a triangle. If you are writing a program to find the perimeter of the triangle now, again, you're supposed to understand what will be the input. Here, the input will be, if this is a triangle, now we have the length, we have A, B, and C, which are side of the triangle. Now, the input are going to be the side of the triangle. Now, what will be the input? The input are going to be sides of a triangle. The input are going to be side of the triangle. Let it be A, B, and what? And the C. Now, what are going to be the output? What is the output? The output is, we expect to get the perimeter of the triangle. So the output will be the perimeter. The output will be the perimeter of a triangle. The output will be the perimeter of a triangle. Let it be, let's say, P. Now, what are the process now? What are the process? The process means how do you convert the input into the output? Now, as we said that the first step should be reserving the space. Reserve the space for the input. Reserve the space for the input, which are A, B, and C. Reserve space for A, for B, and for C. Now, the second must be reserve the space. Reserve the space for the output, which now output is P. Now, also the output must be stored somewhere. Now, the third step must be accepting the input now, means enter the input. Accepting the input, which now you accept A, B, and C. After accepting A, B, and C means after entering A, B, and C into the computer, now the first step must be now calculate or compute the perimeter. Now compute the perimeter. You need to compute the perimeter. Compute P as P is given by A plus B plus C. This is the way how you give the P, the perimeter of the triangle, which is A plus B plus C. Now you find that you take whatever is in A, you plus whatever is in B, you plus whatever in C, and the answer is going to be stored in P. Now after that one, the fifth step is going to be to display now the output, to display now the perimeter, you display P. So this become the algorithms for solving the perimeter of a triangle. I think for today, let me end here for this session. Thank you.